This episode is also available in 3D. For more information, go to funnyhacks.com/C3D.
This is the technical episode for the 3D camera mount. The risks for this episode are pretty minor, so go and check out this episode on funnyhacks.com and you'll see them all listed out there. Now in the main session, in the talkie session of this episode, I didn't have this particular mount on hand, and that's because we're actually using it for doing the filming. I've made a new mount which is all better and awesome, and so therefore I can actually show you this one. Now the new mount, the difference between this one and the new mount let's come to that in just a moment, so I'll quickly explain this mount. So what we have, I drilled some holes in a piece of aluminium, like so, and the screws go through that, the bolts go through that. I then had made bigger holes at the bottom, and the idea was that then I could get it all floppy, and then then I went and put some washers on there, and the washers are therefore very tight around the bolts, and so I just glue the washers in the right place once I've got the calibration all right. Good, okay, so that gets everything all in alignment. I put these bits of rubber on here, and the idea behind that was, with the cameras that I've got, they haven't got flat bottoms. So simply just tightening it on there and then tightening it really tight isn't going to make sure that the camera is straight, and I fell into that trap quite a few times with these older mounts. So the idea behind this rubber was that now it is holding it on the sides, and the pressure is being applied on the sides, and therefore it gives a much better hold. Okay, so yes, I'll elaborate more on that in a moment. Then I put on these bars, and the idea of these bars was to guide the cameras, so I could just slot the cameras into the thing, tighten it all up, and these bars would assert that the cameras were all calibrated in the right place, and there wouldn't be anything I'd have to do. I could just start filming straight away. In reality, that didn't really work too well, because I couldn't get a nice balance between the position of them so that they would be pushing against the cameras to make sure they're in the right place, and being so restrictive that as the rubber wears out and it starts compressing, the cameras start leaning back. And so in the end I didn't really use those much, and I just sort of ended up calibrating it all manually anyway. So I've left those off because they were actually getting in the way. Now, the next thing that I did differently was, you see here, I've got two, each camera has its own one on the outside, and on the inside it's essentially sharing it, plus I've got a little bit of extension, which you won't be able to see on there, but I've got a little bit of extension there just to make it a little bit more even distance between the bolt and the rubber. The problem with that is that this is completely uneven. Okay, if we have a look at, probably it doesn't matter too much if they're sharing here, but having it separate means that I can have the pad exactly where I want it. I don't have to make an extension. The extension is where the problem is, because the extension completely changes the dynamics of the rubber. So this rubber here is actually harder than that rubber because it's got a splattering of glue in between it. Right. Hopefully that's told you all you need to know about that, because I got a whole lot more info to get through for this episode. So, I've told you the basic idea. Okay, the basic idea of stereoscopic video is that we have two cameras, one for each eye, and then we have to deliver that to the user in some way. I've talked about the alignment, how we can cater towards getting the alignment. I haven't actually told you about what we actually need to get right. So, what I'm going to just sort of exaggerate. I'm going to see if I can put this without tipping it over. Oh yeah. Okay, so when we're calibrating the cameras, we've got to make sure things are all very, very precisely aligned. So we need to make sure that the cameras, if my arms are my arms are indicating the direction which the cameras are facing. So if you have any movement like this, you'll have a certain point in the picture which is very easy to see, and all the rest is going to be very hard to see. It's going to be very unpleasant to look at. So that is the thing, that is the bit which I've been having the most difficulty with, and this most recent mount addresses that quite nicely. Now, the next thing. This is the most common thing that people think about, and it is one of the most important. Where is this point when the cameras overlap? Now, theoretically, the best place to put that, well, my opinion of the best place to put that is the thing that you're paying attention to the most needs to be in that bit where the two cameras are overlapping. That's called the convergence point, I believe. Now, the reason for that is when the two cameras are agreeing with each other, it's very easy to get a very clear picture, and yeah, it's very comfortable to look at. And then all the things that are surrounding, they're sort of behind and in front, these things add to the feel of the depth of what they're looking at, but because you're not looking at them so much, it doesn't matter that you don't see them quite so clearly. There's that. Okay, now, the last one is, imagine the camera's going like this. This is another problem which I've had quite a lot. I particularly had that problem with this one, but actually all of these, to a certain extent, I had that problem with. Now, the result that you get of that is that you'll get things in very much in the absolute centre of the picture, or a particular spot in the picture you'll get beautifully easy to see, and then there'll be this sort of circle haze of stuff which is very difficult to look at. So some of my early footage of the fast tracks is like that. Yeah, enough said. Okay, next item on the agenda, rendering methods. So I talked about how we need to get two cameras to two eyes. Now there's quite a few different methods of doing this, and the one which needs no equipment is, well, no extra equipment, is to do the cross-eye method. I've never tried to master this, and I'm not in a hurry to. I don't think it's a particularly good thing to be doing with your eyes. But basically how it works is you put the left and right image on the opposite sides of the screen, and then you go cross-eyed, and then being cross-eyed brings those images together, and so therefore you get a, apparently it gives you a very, very clear picture. Next one, so then what is very, very popular at the moment is these polarized glasses, and these are brilliant because these give you a full color perception. These work by having one projector, well, let's do the most expensive, nice setup here. One projector has one particular polarized filter on it, the other projector has the other particular type of polarized filter on it, and then the glasses match, and so therefore on one eye you're only getting what came from one projector, and the other eye you're only getting what came from the other projector. Beautiful, nice and simple. Then the method which gets a lot of unnecessary flack is the coloured lenses method. Now, the big disadvantage with the coloured lenses method is that you get, so this is anaglyph, by the way, is the proper name for it. The big disadvantage with that is that the colours are very distracting. Now, it's very easy, because you get a different amount of light in each eye, and you get different colours of light in each eye, and it's very easy for your brain to bias one or the other. Therefore, a lot of people have trouble seeing the 3D on the coloured lenses. Now, if you go and have a look at Wikipedia, there's actually a massive list of all these different coloured lenses which different places have tried, and some of them are patented, some of them are not. And it's really interesting just to sort of see the comments and the theories about why certain ones are better and that type of thing. Now there's one there which is supposed to be supremely good for being clear and good colour perception and everything, and I found that absolutely rubbish, but the red cyan ones work really well for me. So different things will work well for different people, but the red cyan ones are really, really common. If you've done something similar, and I know there's a heck of a lot of you that have, put a video response. We'd love to see what you've done. There's definitely a lot of cool content out there. And if you have questions, I've covered a lot of material in this episode, so if you have questions, just leave them in the comments, and then I'll post the answers on funnyhacks.com. I may answer a couple of questions in the comments as well.